She stood up at my own dinner table, glass of Pinot in hand, and said, "I need to tell everyone something. Damien and I are engaged. We've been together since February." My mother dropped her fork. My sister choked on her wine. And I sat there, in my own house, in my own dining room, staring at a woman I'd shared a bed with for 3 years while she announced her engagement to another man. In front of my family. On my birthday. Let me back up. My name's Grant Ashworth. I'm 42, civil engineer, born and raised in Lower Hutt. I bought my place in Petwan 6 years ago, a 3-bedroom weatherboard with a view of the harbor. Nothing flash, but it's mine. Every dollar of the mortgage comes out of my account. Every rate bill, every insurance payment, every power bill. Mine. Gemma Radcliffe moved in 3 years ago. We'd been dating for about 8 months before that. She was 35, charming, always had a project she was about to start. A photography business. A wellness blog. An online store selling handmade candles. None of them ever made money. Most of them never got past the planning stage. But she was warm and funny, and I thought she just needed stability. Someone to believe in her. So I gave her a home, paid for everything, and told myself she'd find her feet eventually. She didn't find her feet. She found Damien. Now, the dinner. It was a Saturday in October. My birthday. Mom had come up from the hut. My sister Bridget drove down from Kapiti with her husband. Gemma had insisted on cooking. Made a big deal about the menu, bought expensive ingredients with my card. I remember thinking she'd really outdone herself. Lamb rack, Kamara gratin, a pavlova she'd been working on all afternoon. I was touched. Genuinely thought this woman had put real effort into making my birthday special. Then, between the main and dessert, she stood up. "I need to tell everyone something. I've met someone. His name's Damien Holt. We've been seeing each other since February, and he proposed last weekend." I said yes. She held up her left hand. There was a ring on it. Small diamond, thin band. I'd never seen it before. My mom said, "What?" Bridget said, "Are you joking?" Gemma said, "I know it's a lot to take in. But I wanted to be honest. I didn't want to sneak around anymore." I put my napkin down. Looked at the lamb I'd paid for. The wine I'd bought. The table in my house. "You're announcing your engagement to another man. At my birthday dinner. In my house." She had the nerve to look hurt. "I thought you'd appreciate the honesty, Grant." I could have just left without saying anything. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, poured myself a whiskey. Took a long sip. Came back. "That's very considerate of you, Gemma. Congratulations. Now pack your bags." Her face changed. "What?" "You heard me. Pack your things. Tonight. You can't just throw me out. I live here. You lived here." Past tense. As of about 30 seconds ago. My mother stood up. She's a quiet woman, my mom. Doesn't say much. But when she does, it lands. She looked at Gemma and said, "Dear, I have driven an hour to celebrate my son's birthday. Not to watch his girlfriend announce she's marrying someone else over his birthday dinner. I think you should do as he says." Gemma started crying. Not real tears. Performance tears. "This is so unfair. I've given 3 years of my life to this relationship. And I've given 3 years of mortgage payments, groceries, power bills, car insurance, and petrol money," I said. "What exactly have you given?" She couldn't answer that. Bridget's husband, a builder named Angus Tate, sat quietly through the whole thing. Finally he said, "Mate, want me to help her carry her bags to the car?" I called the police non-emergency line. Explained the situation. They sent 2 officers within 40 minutes. Very professional. I showed them my mortgage documents, the title in my name alone. Gemma's name wasn't on a single bill, a single document, a single piece of paper in that house. The older officer, a woman, looked at Gemma. "Ma'am, do you have a tenancy agreement?" "No, but I've lived here for 3 years." "Do you pay rent?" "I contribute to the household." I pulled up my banking app. Here's every mortgage payment. Every power bill. Every grocery receipt I could find. She's contributed exactly nothing. The younger officer looked genuinely baffled. "Ma'am, you just announced you're engaged to someone else. At this man's birthday dinner. In his house. Why would you want to stay?" "Because I need time to sort things out. Damien lives in a flat in Newtown with 2 other guys. There's no room." "My heart bleeds," I said. The officer strongly suggested she leave voluntarily. Gemma packed 3 suitcases and 2 rubbish bags of clothes. She called Damien while packing. I could hear her screaming from the bedroom. Apparently his flatmates weren't keen on her moving in. When she came out, she was filming me on her phone. This is emotional abuse. I'm documenting everything. "Make sure you get the pavlova in the shot," I said. "I paid for that too." As she left, she turned at the door. "You're going to regret this, Grant." "Probably not as much as I'm going to regret letting you use my credit card at that day spa in Greytown last month." "I'm guessing that was with Damien?" Her face told me everything. Update 1. Sunday morning. Woke up to 43 texts, 19 missed calls, and an Instagram story where Gemma was crying into the camera about being homeless because of a narcissistic ex. My phone buzzed again. It was Damien. "Bro, you didn't need to chuck her out like that. She needed time. Bro, you proposed to my girlfriend while she was living in my house eating food I paid for. Sort your own mess out." He didn't reply. Around midday, Gemma's mother called. "Marlene Radcliffe. Nice woman, actually. I'd always liked her." "Grant, what's happened?" "Gemma says you threw her out on the street." "Marlene, did she mention the engagement?" "The what?" "She's engaged to a man named Damien. Has been seeing him since February. Announced it at my birthday dinner last night. In front of my mother." Long silence. "She told us you two had an arrangement. That you were basically flatmates. Is that what she told Damien too? I need to ring you back." She never did. Update 2. Monday. Damien showed up at my door. Mid-30s, man bun, smelled like patchouli. Drove a beat-up Corolla with a cracked windscreen. "We need to talk about Gemma's belongings." "What belongings?" "I've got her clothes packed in the garage. Everything else in this house, every piece of furniture, every appliance, every picture on the wall, I bought. I have the receipts. She decorated this place. With my money. Look, she's staying with her sister and she's really struggling. She announced she was marrying you while living with me rent-free for 3 years. She's not the one struggling here, mate." His face went red. "You're being cruel. And you proposed to someone else's girlfriend. We're all making choices. Yours were worse than mine." He left. I installed 2 more cameras. Update 3. Wednesday. Gemma went nuclear. Posted a long screed on Facebook about how I was an abusive, controlling partner who threw her out for daring to find real love. Said she'd been trapped, couldn't leave, lived in fear. Problem was, I had receipts. Every kind. I posted 1 reply. Didn't rant. Just facts. 3 years of bank statements showing I paid for everything. Screenshots of texts from the week before where she told me she loved me and asked me to transfer $2,000 for her car registration. A screenshot of my credit card statement showing a $300 charge at a boutique hotel in Martinborough the weekend she said she was visiting her friend in Palmerston North. I now knew who she was visiting. Her friend Caitlin commented first. "Wait, you were still living with Grant?" You told me you'd moved out in March. Then Kirsten, Gemma's sister, messaged me privately. Grant, I'm sorry. I didn't know she was still at yours. She's been bringing Damien to family things for months saying you two were done. Mom's furious. Can I pick up her stuff? Come anytime. It's in the garage. Update 4. The car. The car Gemma had been driving was registered in my name. I bought it 3 years ago, a Toyota Corolla, nothing special, but fully paid off and in my name. I'd let her use it because she didn't have one. She'd been telling Damien it was hers. On Thursday, I rang the police and reported it as taken without authorization. They found it parked outside Kirsten's place in Karori. Gemma called from the police station, screaming. You reported my car stolen? It's not your car, Gemma. It's registered in my name. I paid for it. You don't live with me anymore and you took it without permission. You let me drive it for 3 years. When you were my girlfriend. You're Damien's fiancé now. Ask him for a ride. He doesn't have a car. He bikes everywhere. Sounds sustainable. Good for the environment. I picked up the car. She had to get Kirsten to drive her home. According to her angry text, Kirsten charged her $40 for petrol. I didn't reply. Update 5. Saturday night, 9 o'clock. Damien and 2 of his flatmates showed up at my place. Banging on the door. Open up, mate. We're getting Gemma's things. I was already on the phone to 111. 3 men trying to force entry to my property. I could hear them trying the side gate, setting off the motion sensors. One of them went around the back and tried to jimmy the ranch slider. The police arrived in 12 minutes. Tried to force entry to a residential property. That gets priority. Damien immediately went into victim mode. This man has stolen my fiancé's belongings. We're just trying to collect her things. I showed the officers the security footage. 3 men, 1 trying to break in through the back. I want to press charges, I said. Trespassing. Attempted burglary. The one who tried the ranch slider got handcuffed. Damien and his other mate got trespass notices. Come back, you're arrested. Damien was yelling about lawyers and rights as they put his friend in the patrol car. I stood on my porch and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, your fiancé lived here rent-free for 3 years while cheating on me with you. I could sue her for $36,000 in back rent at market rate. Want to keep playing? He shut up after that. Update 6. The following week, Marlene asked to meet. We sat down at a cafe in Petwan. She looked exhausted. I need the truth, Grant. All of it. I showed her everything. Bank statements. Texts from Gemma just days before the announcement, telling me she left me, asking about holiday plans for Christmas. The credit card statement from the Martinborough Hotel. A grocery receipt from the birthday dinner, $312, all on my card. She'd been celebrating her engagement with my money. Marlene's face got darker with every page. She told us you two had been separated since April. That you were volatile. That she was scared to leave. I'm a civil engineer, Marlene. I design bridges. I've never raised my voice at her. You've been to my house a dozen times. Did I ever seem volatile? No. No, you didn't. She's always been like this. When she was 20, she was engaged to a boy from Christchurch while dating someone else in Wellington. We should have dealt with it then. She pushed an envelope across the table. There's $2,000 in there. It's not enough, but it's something. From her father and me. Marlene, I can't take this. Please. We raised her. We need to own some of it. I took the envelope. Damien's having second thoughts, she said. Now that she's asking him for money constantly. He's starting to see what you dealt with. Not my problem anymore. No. It's not. I'm sorry, Grant. You deserved better. Update 7. 3 weeks in. Kirsten called me. She's driving me insane. Won't get a job. Won't help with rent. Sits on the couch watching reality TV all day and ordering Uber Eats on my Wi-Fi. She keeps talking about wedding planning, but Damien hasn't visited in a week. Not my circus anymore, Kirsten. I know. How did you do it for 3 years? I loved her. Or I thought I did. Love makes you blind. She's been telling people you two had an open relationship. That you knew about Damien and were fine with it. That's completely false. Grant, did she ever pay for anything? Anything at all? She cooked sometimes. With groceries I bought. 2 weeks later, Kirsten rang again. She won't leave. Says she's family and I can't kick her out. Sounds familiar, I said. And Damien dumped her. I nearly spat out my coffee. Yeah. She kept demanding he pay for things. Got angry when he suggested she apply for a job. Then she found out his freelance graphic design business was actually him doing logos on Fiverr for $30 a pop. He'd been lying about having money the whole time. They were made for each other, honestly. Except neither one actually has any money. She's saying she's going to sue you for emotional harm and illegal eviction. She can try. I've got a very good lawyer and a very detailed paper trail. Update 8. Week 5. Got served with a letter from some cut-rate lawyer in Lower Hutt. Not an actual lawsuit, just a cease and desist demanding I return Gemma's property and pay her $40,000 for emotional distress and unlawful eviction. My lawyer, a woman named Phoebe Granger, actually laughed out loud. She announced her engagement to another man at your birthday dinner while living in your house for free, and she wants compensation? That's what it says. Leave this with me. Phoebe's response was 3 pages of precise legal language that essentially said, no, and by the way, here's a counterclaim for $36,000 in back rent calculated at Wellington market rates. Gemma's lawyer dropped her within the week. She tried to represent herself, filed something with the tenancy tribunal that was 14 pages of rambling about emotional terrorism and love discrimination. The adjudicator dismissed it in less than 10 minutes. Best part, she'd listed her address on the filing. She'd moved back in with Damien. At his flatmate's address. Which was now on public record. Update 9. Week 7. Damien called me. I need your help. I actually laughed. Please. She won't leave. She's not on our lease, but she refuses to go. She's threatening to tell the police I hit her if we try to make her leave. And you want my help because? You got her out in one night. How? By calling the police immediately and having cameras running. Something you should have done already. Can you talk to her? Tell her to leave? Damien, mate. You proposed to my girlfriend while she was living with me. You made this bad. I didn't know. She said you were finished. And you believed her. Well, she still lived with me. And slept in my bed. Long silence. I'm an idiot, aren't I? Yes, Damien. Yes, you are. Please. I'm begging you. Here's free advice. Install cameras today. Record everything. When she threatens false accusations, make sure it's on film. Then call the police. First one to call usually controls the situation. That's it? That's it. Oh, and maybe don't propose to women who are living with other men. He hung up. Final update. It's been 4 months now. Gemma. After Damien's flatmates threatened legal action and actually filed with the tenancy tribunal themselves, she got escorted out by police. She's living with her parents in Upper Hutt at 35. Working part-time at a clothing shop in Queensgate. Still posts Instagram stories about her journey of healing and how she survived narcissistic abuse. She's also talking to some bloke she met on a dating app who lives in Brisbane. They've never met in person. He sends her money sometimes. I give it 6 months. Damien moved back to his parents' place in Palmerston North after his flatmates kicked him out for bringing the chaos to their door. His Instagram is private now, but mutual friends say he posts inspirational quotes about personal growth and learning from mistakes. Marlene and Ray, Gemma's parents, send me a Christmas card with a check for another $1,000 and a note saying they're seeing a family therapist to work through what they called enabling patterns. They've apparently given Gemma a deadline to move out by March. Kirsten. We've actually become mates. She texts me updates sometimes. She's seeing a counselor herself now, working through how her family dynamics affected her own choices. Me? I'm good. House is quiet. Bills are lower. Stress is gone. Started seeing someone new. Her name's Gail. She's a structural engineer. Has her own flat in Thorndon, her own car, her own life. Insists on splitting everything. It's strange how normal it feels to be with someone who actually pulls their own weight. The best part. I ran into one of Damien's former flatmates at a pub quiz in town. He told me the full story. Apparently Gemma had convinced Damien to propose by telling him she was pregnant with his child, while she was still sleeping with me. The dates didn't add up at all. When Damien figured out the pregnancy was fabricated, he tried to end it. That's when she threatened to go to the police and say he'd assaulted her. The flatmates had installed a camera in the hallway after things started going sideways. Caught her on video admitting she'd made up the pregnancy and laughing about how easy it is to manipulate men when they're scared. They gave Damien the footage. He gave it to the police. And the police removed her. She tried to claim the recording was illegal. Turns out shared living areas in a flat don't carry an expectation of privacy under New Zealand law. Sometimes karma takes its time. But when it arrives, it's thorough. Looking back, the red flags were everywhere. She hadn't held a steady job in the entire 3 years she lived with me. Always had an excuse. Always had a new dream that needed funding. Always had a crisis that somehow meant I needed to cover everything for another month. The birthday dinner announcement was actually a gift. If she'd been smarter about it, if she'd strung me along quietly, I might have wasted another 3 years paying her way through life while she looked for someone richer. Instead, she got so comfortable she thought she could announce her engagement to another man at my birthday dinner, in front of my mother, and I'd politely hand her a timeline to move out. The entitlement was staggering. The delusion was even bigger. But here's what I want to say to anyone listening who recognizes themselves in this story, whether you're the Grant or the Damien or even the Gemma. Nobody owes you a free ride. Love is not a transaction, but it's not a blank check either. If someone is living with you, eating your food, spending your money, and contributing nothing, that's not a partnership. That's a tenancy arrangement where you forgot to charge rent. And if someone announces they're marrying another person while sitting at your table, in your house, eating food you paid for, the only correct response is exactly what I did. Congratulations. Now get out. My house is clean. My life is mine again. And Gemma? She's everyone else's problem now. One at a time. Sometimes I sit on my deck in the evening, looking out over the harbor, and I think about that birthday dinner. The lamb she bought with my card. The pavlova she spent all afternoon on. The way she smiled when she held up that ring. And I don't feel angry anymore. I feel something closer to gratitude, which is a strange thing to say about the night your girlfriend announced she was marrying another man in front of your mother. But here's what I've come to understand. Everything that happened to Gemma after that night, every single consequence, she built with her own hands. She chose to lie to Damien about our relationship. She chose to lie to her own family. She chose to live in my house, eat my food, spend my money, and plan a future with someone else. And when each of those lies collapsed, she acted surprised, as if the world was being unfair to her. It wasn't unfair. It was just honest. Cause and effect. You plant lies, you harvest chaos. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because lies have a structural problem. They need other lies to hold them up, and eventually the whole thing falls over. What I'm proudest of, looking back, isn't that I won. It's that I didn't lose myself in the process. I didn't scream at her. Didn't trash her stuff. Didn't go online and wage some campaign of revenge. I made clear decisions, documented everything, called the right people, and let the facts speak for themselves. That took something I didn't know I had. Not toughness. More like steadiness. The ability to be furious and still think straight. To be hurt and still act with integrity. I think that's the most important thing a person can develop, that inner compass that keeps you decent even when someone is giving you every reason not to be. And I'll be honest, part of that steadiness came from being prepared. Not because I expected Gemma to do what she did, but because I'd always kept my affairs in order. My name on the title. My receipts filed. My bills in my name. It wasn't paranoia, it was just common sense. Wisdom isn't about being suspicious of everyone. It's about understanding that the world doesn't always go the way you hope, and making sure you're standing on solid ground when it doesn't. If I'd put Gemma on the lease, if I'd given her access to my accounts, if I'd let things slide because it was easier, that birthday dinner would have been the start of a very different story. A much worse one. The last thing I want to say is about getting back up. After Gemma left, there were mornings I didn't want to get out of bed. Not because I missed her, but because I felt stupid. 3 years. 3 years of paying for someone who was planning her exit the whole time. The temptation was to shut down, to decide I'd never trust anyone again, to build walls and hide behind them. But that's not living. That's just surviving. And I didn't want to just survive. So I got up. I cleaned the house. I changed the locks. I went back to work. I said yes when a mate asked me to join his pub quiz team. And eventually I met Gail, who splits the bill and drives her own car and doesn't need me to fund her life. Not because she's perfect, but because she's whole. And I could only recognize that because I'd done the work to be whole myself. Gemma taught me something, even though she didn't mean to. She taught me that you can't love someone into being a good person. You can give them everything, your home, your money, your time, your trust, and they'll take it all and still choose to lie. That's not your failure. That's theirs. Your only job is to be the kind of person who does the right thing even when it costs you, who thinks clearly even when it hurts, and who gets back on their feet even when the ground shifts. Everything else sorts itself out.